from Anirveda Resource Center for Psychological Wellbeing. Okay, so this session on she would be talking about how you can manage stress during distance learning. So warm welcome to you, Dr. K.T. Shweta. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Am I audible, all of you?
Yes, you are.
Okay. A very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you, Malvika ma'am, for inviting me to talk to all of you about stress management. And I definitely understand that this is one of the main issues because we kept thinking like we all are in an ambiguous situation wherein, we do not know what next. Like even if they have said colleges have started, classes have started, there's still a sense of our earlier way in which the colleges functioned or classes were functioning are not happening. So all of us are pretty in a very confused situation, and that itself is, the very nature of stress. That is, the experience that we have when we do not know, or when the situation is quite unclear. The negative experience that we have is the most simplest way in which we could attempt to discuss stress. So how we would do in the next 1.5 hours is we'll discuss stress. We will discuss different, how do you know that you are getting stressed? Okay. And then how is the new normal contributing to stress, teaching and stress, and then a few strategies on how to manage stress. So this is how we thought we can work on the discussion today. I will give a 20-minute or more, around 20 minutes at the end of the session for an open discussion. So that time we can definitely have a discussion. So whatever queries that you have, we can pick it up during the end of the session. Is that fine, Malvika ma'am?
Yeah. Okay. So the session is from 2
Yeah,
to
okay.
3:30.
Just give me a
Yes.
minute.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 to 3:30. So I just give me a minute as I share my presentation.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, you all are able to see my slides, PowerPoint. You will have to pin on the screen KT Shweta for the presentation. Yeah, is the slide visible?
Yes. 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 It's visible.
Yes. Okay. So as ma'am said, as ma'am said, I run an organization, an NGO called Anirveda Resource Center for Psychological Wellbeing. The resource center is basically focused on enhancing mental health or working on mental health concerns. Basically, because we are not quite open talking about mental health concerns like how we talk about others. We are quite okay talking about aches. We are quite okay talking about, going for, in general daily issues, but hardly do we talk about stress, or hardly do we talk about mental health concerns that all of us go through. And that is where, the focus was when we started Anirveda. And it's very heartening to know that for a faculty development program, rightly a topic of stress management was chosen, which is something very, very important for all of us who are on the academic lines. As I was explaining to you a few minutes earlier, stress is nothing but a very negative emotional experience accompanied by a series of predictable biochemical changes, physiological changes, cognitive changes, and behavioral changes. What we need to very well understand or look into, something very, very important here, is that one, stress is a negative emotional experience. Two, the mind and body work together when there is stress. That is, there are predictable patterns of biochemical changes. A lot of biochemical changes happen in the body. The neurotransmitters go through different changes, or, the secretion of neurotransmitters. There is a variation when there is stress. There are a series of physiological changes about which we will discuss in a little more detail in our further slides. A lot of our thought process or cognitive functions are altered during stress, and a series of behavioral changes, about all of which we will be discussing in the further slides. We'll also have to understand that stress is an everyday fact of life. Stress is something that happens every day, and stress is something that need to be a part of life. Now, all of us, let me tell you that if we are not stressed, if there is no stress, then we cannot function at all. All of us function really well because there's little amount of stress. It is because of the little amount of stress that we function really well. Stress can actually be good also. Stress can actually be good because I told you, because you're stressed about something, you tend to perform. You're stressed about being a good teacher. That is why you put a little extra effort on improving your classes. Marriage is a positive stress. Being a mother is a positive stress. Getting a promotion is a positive stress. So all stress sometimes, or even for example, all of us tend to prepare really well for our examinations and do well, basically because we are stressed. So that's when we perform. So stress can actually be good, but where is the line? Excessive stress is where, you know, you'll have to make clear boundaries till where. Anything beyond a line or beyond a particular parameter can definitely be dangerous. That's exactly how it goes
Excuse
with
me,
stress
ma'am.
also.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but we are still, you're just showing the first slide. I think you're not, the slides are not
No, I
moving.
have
We're
changed
still,
the slides.
oh, no,
Yeah,
but it's
just
not
give me a
visible.
minute.
It's
Just
just the first slide which is visible for us.
oh, I have changed the slides actually. Wait, I'll just stop sharing and redo the whole thing again. Just give me a
Okay,
minute.
okay.
Yeah, is this clear, ma'am, now?
Yeah, it's just, yeah. Now we can see the, yeah.
Yeah.
Importance
Okay.
of the,
So
yeah.
this is what yeah. This is what I was trying to tell you, that stress is an everyday fact of life. That's what I was trying to, that where do we draw lines? Excessive stress can actually be harmful. Okay. So beyond a particular line, stress can be harmful. Now, I would want to ask each of you a very simple question. If you can put up the responses on the chat box, what are some of the everyday stressors that all of us face in life? All, you know, are everyday stressors. What are some of the everyday, forget the COVID, forget the lockdown, forget the online classes, but just like how in 2019 and before, what were those normal everyday stresses of our life? If we can put up the responses on the chat box. Normal everyday stressors of life. Okay, meeting deadlines, then balancing family and work, a good one. Then home and work life balance, yes. Then something as simple as catching a bus on time, workload. Okay, and how many of you in this group actually feel that a little stress is actually necessary? That is what keeps all of us pushing forward. That's what pushes all of us ahead. We are all a little stressed. Yes, reaching in time. Yes, yeah. So a little amount of stress is something that all of us require, that, you know, that keeps the energy on and that keeps pushing all of us ahead. Yeah. So stress is something which is, you know, an everyday part of life. A lot of you agree with me that a little amount of stress is required. But when does it become dangerous is when we cross the line. Now, what happens when the lines are crossed? Okay, now when the lines are crossed, there is a physical impact, that is our physiological functioning, our different systems, our digestive systems, our endocrine systems, our excretory systems, our all of our physiological symptoms or our physiological functioning is on a toss. There is a psychological imbalance. A lot of our psychological functioning, like attention, concentration, problem solving, judgment, all of this is impaired. And then there is a cognitive disturbances. Our thought processes are hampered. We'll discuss this in a little great detail. Before that, we'll just try understanding the definition. How is it that stress was defined? Or a lot of work, like for example, in 1976, there was this person called Hans Sale, a very prominent psychologist who did a lot of work on stress. Hans Sale is predominantly known for his work on stress, and he gave something called as GAS, that is General Adaptation Syndrome. Now, the General Adaptation Syndrome basically tries to understand how our body responds to stress and what are the different levels. Now, according to the General Adaptation Syndrome, there are three levels or three stages of stress. The first one is the alarm stage, the second one is the resistance stage, and the third one is the the exhaustion phase. So first there is an alarm, then there is resistance, and then finally there is exhaustion. Now this needs to be understood in a little more detail. Coming to the alarm stage. Now what happens is, generally when you start perceiving that something is very stressful, it could be an interview, or it could be a class, or it could be an examination. So when you perceive an event to be stressful, a lot of psychological and physiological changes happen in your body. Okay, so what starts happening is you start experiencing that a lot of changes are happening. That is how your body is responding to stress. A lot of changes, like for example, your heart starts pacing, you start hyperventilating for breath, or suddenly you become, there is a hot flush or a cold flush, and then you need, there is an increased, what your adrenaline pump is there, a lot of adrenaline is secreted, there is an adrenaline pump which happens. So that is an alarm stage, wherein the body is giving you an alarm that you are stressed. Different physiological organs or different physiological functions in the body is disrupted, giving you an indicator, yes, you are stressed. Then there is a resistance phase. Now what happens in the resistance phase? Once your body gives you a call that yes, you are in stressed, then what you do, your body automatically tries to make use of the resources, or what your body tries to do is try to cope up or adapt to the stresses, or start beginning to repair whatever has happened because of the stress. Okay, so this is the time when sometimes your friends or co-workers or your family might actually tell you, you don't look fine, is something bothering you, what is happening to you, things don't look fine. So that's when they actually start looking, they may observe. For example, behavioral indicators could be, lack of enthusiasm. You are generally very excited about college or about school or about an outing, now you are not. There's a change in your eating habits, you're very tired, you always feel very sleepy and lethargic, you become easily irritable, for small things you get angry. Or some cognitive or thought in functioning indicators, like you're not able to problem solve a situation, or you're not able to take a decision, or you start experiencing nightmares, or you start forgetting things, you become very absent minded, or there are certain emotional triggers. Emotional triggers could be, there's always, you're fearful, you are easily triggered, there's high anxiety, you are very tearful, the minute people tell you something you end up crying, and things like that. So that is the resistance phase. And then is the exhaustion phase. Now in the exhaustion phase, what basically happens is that this is the phase when you are actually not able to manage at all. That is, this is a phase your body and mind has gone out. That is, they are not able to manage effectively, and your mind and body is not able to repair the damage at all. That is, the exhaustion stage is that stage when you actually know that you are in trouble. So how do you know the exhaustion stage? Now, exhaustion stage is wherein you have digestive disorders, you have tension headaches, you have insomnia, you have difficulties. So exhaustion stage is where you understand that your body has gone beyond repair, and it is a phase where your body has no more resources to repair, no more resources to repair the effects of stress. That is when you see it is the exhaustion phase. So what Hansel tries to explain to us, that there is an alarm, there is a resistance, there is exhaustion. So when we know, when the alarm rings, what do we do when the alarm rings in the morning? We knock it. Okay, or time and again it is going to ring. So here too, when the body gives us an alarm that you are stressed, we need to take care that, we do not snooze this alarm for long, because when we continuously go on snoozing the alarm, we reach the exhaustion. The first time our body tells, or say the second time our body tells, the alarm rings, we need to take care of it. My next question to you, for which all of you have to respond on the chat box, is how many of you feel teaching is a very stressful job? Ashok sir, when I try to do a full screen display, I think it's getting stuck. That's why I have put a small screen display. Yeah, how many of you feel teaching is a stressful job? No? Okay. Yes, yes, yes. You love teaching? Yeah. Love, your passion and stress are two different things. Only during deadlines, okay? Not often, but sometimes it's very stressful, okay? Yes, okay. Now, what are things in teaching that makes it very stressful? What are, different things in teaching that makes teaching a little stressful? Like, for example, for me, what makes it a little stressful is that, every time, a newer batch of students come, we need to update ourselves more technologically, more, because their exposure to a lot of things is much, much more than us. So, that update we need to, that's something which I found, is a little stressful, and I need to keep working or putting an extra effort every year. How about all of you? How about all of you? One reason, if each of you could tell me, why do you feel, for you, this is something a little stressful in teaching? One, that newer challenges that, we face with students make it a little stressful. Okay. Anita ma'am says each time you have a new subject to teach, so you will have to keep updating yourselves, or, every time it's a different kind of orientation. Ravi Bhatt sir says a project deadline and family health reasons stresses me, wherein you'll have to manage. There's a thin line of balance between how you'll have to meet your professional deadlines and family concerns. Harjot says extra work apart from teaching. I think only teaching. Yeah. So as a teacher, your responsibility is not only conveying the syllabus, but there's a lot of other things like, administrative stuff and things like that, which come up, which makes it more stressful. Agreed. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Okay. Now let's understand this a little, in a little detail. If you look at the most stressful jobs on the globe, teaching is one of them, which is on the top 10. And there has been a positive correlate between, stress among teachers and their sense of well-being and their willingness to stay in the profession. I have taken a few studies from India, wherein there was a study done on government higher secondary school teachers in Coimbatore district, and they said that there was higher levels of occupational stress among teachers, and that actually produced apathetic, uninvolved, and non-cooperative attitudes among teachers. Then there was also a comparative study of work-related stress among government and private school teachers of Kurnool town, and they said that 86.4% of the teachers experienced stress both in the private sector as well as in the government sector. And on a study done on different, the different kind of symptoms that teachers experienced during stress, the study reports that headache 35%, irritation 11.5%, helplessness 8%, anxiousness 50%, inability to concentrate 6%, poor sleep patterns 12.5%. These are some of the symptoms reported across on stress among teachers, in a study done on the teachers in India. Now, for all of us as teachers, what are our symptoms of stress? Say each of us can say one. What are our symptoms of stress? Okay, Malvika ma'am says all of this. Okay, predominantly what? For me, it is headache. What? How do you know? How? Okay, headache. Jonathan ma'am says headache and poor sleep. Okay, headache for, okay, there's someone who's there with me. Two more people who also say headache. Okay, anything else? Sleeplessness. Okay, I have a friend of mine who feels excessively sleepy when stressed out a lot. Okay, headache and anxiousness and poor sleep. Anita ma'am says. Okay, then feeling tired after go, you're so exhausted, there's a lot of fatigue. Okay, headache. Okay, lot on the headache side. Okay, then anything else? Anything else? I have a friend of mine also who has a lot of sweating. She sweats a lot when she's very stressed. Feeling tired. Sugandhi Kumar is feeling tired. Okay. Anybody who has a slightly different kind of a symptom when you are extremely stressed? It could be anything. Okay, shivering for few. Agreed. Thirsty, migraine, don't feel like, a lot of, Joshila ma'am says, a lot of stress, you're so tired, there's so much of fatigue at the end of it that you just don't want to do. Migraine is a very good symptom of stress. Okay, shouting on others after going home, this is called as displacement, wherein your whatever that energy or your frustration is there, you can't put it on the students or on your principal or on the management, so it goes on whoever is there at home, unfortunately the husband, wife, or the kids. Anything else? Yeah, so this is how we generally know, that, these are our symptoms of stress. What makes events stressful? What are those stressful events? One is negative events. When you say anything which is negative, it can be anything as simple as not getting a bus, or something, a little serious like death of a loved one or a long-term hospitalization, the lockdown, like any negative, uncontrollable events on which you do not have absolutely any control. Like the biggest example of an uncontrollable and an ambiguous event is the lockdown and the pandemic, both of which are ambiguous, both of which is uncontrollable. We have no say in it at all. And the next one is overload. Overload, it can be a physical overload, emotional overload, or cognitive overload, and sometimes work overload also. What was the biggest stressful thing or the biggest overload during the pandemic? Biggest overload during the pandemic? Any guesses? Biggest overload during the pandemic? That we all thought we should never switch on something for the next 10 days. What's the biggest overload? Any hint? Biggest overload during the pandemic, from all sources we got it, we finally decided, no, we are not looking at it at all again, like most of them decided. Any clue? Yeah, Saju sir is somewhere close to the answer. Mobile, yes, but what was the mobile giving us? What overload was happening? Information overload. Yeah, a lot of information, internet, so much of information. Every news is telling us so many died, that happened, this happened. So much of information load, and it was so stressful. Definitely, I agree. All of you, rumors, or it was just information overload. All of us definitely decided, yes, for the next 10 days, please, yeah, we are not going to watch this again. Not the news channels anymore, because so much of it, so much, and it was very, very stressful, because first of all, the situation is unclear. We don't know what is happening to whom at what point of time in which part, and over that, so much of information was definitely very, very stressful. What stresses you out? It could be money, bills, it could be traffic, it could be job related stress, it could be lack of, free time, it could be health reasons, medical reasons, it could be relationships. We're just running through all of this, can actually be stressful. Any of this, it could be any of this. What could be any of this? Now, how do you recognize your stress? Now, stressors, as I told you, stressors have a physical impact, a psychological impact, and a behavioral impact. So what we are going to do is study what each of these impacts are. What is a physical impact, what is the psychological impact, and what is a cognitive impact. The first one is physical impacts. All of us have discussed the physical impacts. A lot of us have headache, a few of us have strain on the eyes, we have body aches and pains, we have gastrointestinal problems. So all of this definitely has a lot of this. There could be act like somebody told, you feel very thirsty. Gastrointestinal symptoms are, you like, you have bloating in the stomach, you have, some people have, they keep going to the washroom time and again, body aches and pains, migraines. All of these are physical symptoms. I definitely know this doesn't require a great explanation. We are quite clear of what the physical symptoms are. What are the psychological symptoms? One, sleep disturbances. Now, sleep disturbances can be any. Like, for example, some of us do not fall asleep at all. Some of us fall asleep much more than what is required. Some of us sleep, but at the end of the day, when we get up, we don't feel very, very fresh. Malagideve, we have slept, but when we get up, we don't feel very fresh. The next one is stress eating or binge eating or comfort eating. This is another symptom of stress. How many of us have it? At least to some extent, that when you are very stressed, you eat some, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of chips, a little ice cream, a little more of your favorite food that makes you feel good. A lot of us do binge eating. Yeah, so binge eating is actually an indicator of stress that we all face. And then worry or fear, a lot of worry, what's going to happen, and we become so hyper vigilant. Like anything small happens, it worries us so much. We keep looking around for what will happen, what might happen, etc. A lot of anger. What is anger? What is anger? A lot of negative energy, wherein you that energy which is there in you is not channelized in the right direction, is not channelized in the right direction, and you ventilate anger. Now, is getting angry good or bad? Is anger a bad emotion? Bad. Bad. Anybody who says that it is just like any other emotion, what is needed is to learn how to channelize it adequately. I personally feel getting angry is common. Getting angry is normal. But what is important is, when you get angry, identify what your trigger factors are and channelize the anger appropriately. How many of you agree? It's just like any other emotion, just like sadness, just like happiness. Anger is also an emotion. But what is important in anger is, when you get angry, you need to understand, identify your triggers for anger, and then channelize it in the right direction. A lot of times what happens is, we are taught that we should not get angry, and we continuously go on resisting the anger, we push it, and then finally, like one big volcano, it will be like, pat, gone. Okay, so there's nothing called as good emotions, bad emotions. No, all of these are emotions. What becomes important is, channelizing, identifying what triggers that emotions and channelizing that emotional energy in the right direction is something that's very, very important. Anger, low self-esteem, however good a teacher you are, I keep feeling, I'm not good. I'm still, the students are not very happy with my classes. I could really teach well when I was taking live classes, but somehow I'm not able to take an online class because I feel very unconnected with my students. I'm not a very tech savvy person. I'm so definitely not. Now all of you are computer teachers here. I'm definitely not a tech savvy person. All of this little that I've learned is after the lockdown came. Okay, so I'm not a tech savvy person. So I always felt, when my students were using Google Classrooms and the Drive and Link and, online classes and meetings, I was like, where am I? Okay, so there's always, low self-esteem. You continuously don't feel good about yourself. And then feelings of loneliness, especially during this lockdown. What happened is, see, for us as teachers, what happens is, after every class we come to the staff room, we have a little chit chat, we have a connect. So that's a basic de-stressor for all of us. How many of you agree? We could be gossiping about something, but that definitely help the stressor, relieve our stress. How many of you agree? I agree. How many of you agree? That little chota chit chats and things that were happening. Now, why did the lockdown or the online classes become very difficult? Because of that whole new way of teaching. There's nobody to even talk to. This side I see my husband or wife, that side I see my kid, behind I see my in-laws or parents. So whom am I? There is no socialization. So I continuously start feeling very, very lonely, and I start feeling very isolated. Burnout. I am just done. It's completely done. I am just not able to do anything more than this. There's a complete burnout that actually affects your performance. How many of you faced burnout during the online classes? They're like, no, I have no more energy to pull in. We all have tried our best, but somewhere there, all of us went through this one phase of burnout wherein, we didn't know, no, we feel we are done. We don't know what else. There's a state of burnout that all of us actually faced. Resistance to change. This is what I am, this is how I am, nothing is going to change. There's a lot of resistance to change. Decreased decision making. You're so stressed, you're so lost or locked up in your stressor that you are not able to decide what to do. Whether I do that, whether I send my kids to class, whether I sign the consent form, whether I start going to school, whether I ask for extra workload, I am not able to decide. There is decreased decision making skills. Frequent distraction. You are not able to, you're so stressed that you are not able to focus on work. You're not able to put or integrate your thoughts together and work. Interpersonal issues. When you are stressed, you tend to have relationship issues with your good friend or your family, anybody. There's a lot of interpersonal issues that comes as a part of stress. Highly happens when you are very, very stressed. So this is generally about what is stress, symptoms of stress, what happens during stress, and all of these things. This is what we discussed. Now what we are going to discuss is about the stressors, or why was the new normal more stressful. Now if I ask you all, anyone, two or three of you, to define or explain what the new normal is, how would you like to put it as? If I ask you, now we use this word called new normal. So if any one of you or any of you would want to, kind of under explain the new normal, what is your explanation of what the new normal is? New normal. Anybody? What is a new, what according to you is what this new normal we are trying to call? Meeting everybody with the mask and using sanitizers. Okay, then keeping safe distances, stay online always is a new normal. Upcoming things analyzed as common issues. Okay, so a new normal is basically when we try to say that is, you know, there is an overall change in which we are trying to connect with ourselves and others. Yeah, there's a different way in which we are trying to connect, you know, with ourselves and others. Probably is the most simplest way of new normal. Earlier we used to connect ourselves by meeting friends, connect to ourselves by going for a walk. Now all of those are not there. The new normals is the new ways of connecting to everything around us, to everything around us. Now this could be, you know, being in touch without being in touch. Okay, that's exactly how the new normal is. You are in touch but not actually in touch. So that's how the new normal in simple is. Now why is the new normal stressful, or what is it that, you know, makes the new normal a little more difficult? The first one is poor time boundaries. There's no sense of time boundaries at all. Earlier, at least, we had a proper schedule. We had, you know, the timing. We had a timing there, you know, for everything. Now there are no time boundaries at all. It's not only about us, but it's about everyone and everything. Our sleep time, our food time, our classes, our waking up and sleeping time. Everything has gone on a toss since the past 1 year. Everything is all over the place. So that there are no time boundaries. Two, there's no privacy and space. All of us are, you know, limited within four walls where all of us are there. We are there. So the same space is our workplace, our office, our son's classroom, our daughter's classroom, my husband's office. So everywhere there's no privacy or space. The this my feeling. Okay, this is my workplace. This is how it is going to be. This my feeling was not there at all. There's no privacy and no space. Financial crunch. This does not need an explanation at all. Technological hindrances. Technological hindrances where a lot, like, you know, a lot, like for example, a lot of us do not know how to use online classes at all. Then the concept of wi-fi, how to use google classrooms, and even after that all of them started with zoom, and then it was like zoom is not safe, now shift to google meet. So a lot of that. Lack of leisure time. Lack of leisure time basically because there are no time boundaries, so there's no leisure time, you know, it's all over the place. So there's no time where we can actually enjoy, where we can actually have some fun. Lack of leisure time is not there. Concern about health and safety. We, you know, I was just having a discussion. One of the teachers was actually telling me, ma'am, it's it's so scary because I have to go for a job. She is a single parent. Her husband passed away a few years back, and she has her aged in-laws at home. So she's like, ma'am, I have to go out because this is my bread and butter. If I don't go out, I can't earn my bread. But I'm so scared because I have aged parents and my father-in-law has so many health complications that, you know, if something goes wrong, I don't know. I'm so scared. And she's so hyper vigilant, you know, she's so much of her time she spends on washing and cleaning. So much of concern about health, so much of concern about safety has become a part of the new normal. And now what has happened is, now that we have started working, a lot of, you know, continuity of work that stopped during the lockdown. Because of lockdown, a lot of our academic works have also stopped. Like for example, our assessments were pending, a lot of our you know, register maintenance, record maintenance, all of that was pending. So now what has happened, we are doing a lot of that, adapting to the disruptions in daily life. What are the disruptions that we faced in our daily life because of our lockdown? Our socialization, our routine, our work life, all of these disruptions are there. All of these are there. So we have to slowly adapt to that. And now what we are doing, now what are we adapting to? That is a big period of a lot of disruptions. Now slowly things are falling in place. So now we have to make an adjustment between that and an adjustment between this, accepting newer ways to adapt to work from home. What are the newer ways to adapt? How is it? It could be a classroom, making a space. Not only that, along with that, accommodating the requirements of every other family member, because they are all at home. So you will have to make, accommodate yourselves to your schools or your college's requirement, your child's requirement, your husband's requirement, your people at home, their requirement, and all of this. So you will have to accommodate yourselves to a lot of things. Information overload. Definitely, this doesn't need a discussion at all. This is something that we discussed some time back. And job dissatisfaction. Why do you think there was a lot of job dissatisfaction during the pandemic? Any inputs from your end? Why was there a lot of job dissatisfaction during the pandemic? Okay, change in mode of working. That is why there was dissatisfaction. Don't know what we are teaching and what is understood by students. Very nice. Ashok sir says there's no time restrictions. We don't know what is happening. Then how many of you agree to me when I say that online teaching requires more effort than offline teaching, but the impact we are not sure of? Agree? Yeah. So don't you think that's the biggest thing of job dissatisfaction, that we are putting in a lot of efforts? It's like, 2 or 3 times more efforts than an offline class. Okay. But for the amount of effort that we put, we are not very sure of what is the result that we have got. Agree? Yeah. So that's one reason why job dissatisfaction. Payments on salaries was one reason why there was job dissatisfaction. How many of you agree? Yes. Yeah. Students are not replying for our questions. Students are in their own, set of issues. Payments were an issue because our salary, half paid, quarter paid, not paid, balance, all of this, and all of this. Paper is an important determinant of job satisfaction. So job dissatisfaction is one that has come up with the new normal. Lack of socialization with colleagues, we don't connect at all. Concern about health and safety at workplace. Now we are actually going back to work, but we are worried about, people who are coming. Like for example, recently in Mangalore there was a college in which there was a news which read that, in a college 40 students were diagnosed positive. It was so worrying for a lot of us. 40 students diagnosed positive. What about our health? We have people at home. So even when we get back to work, the threat about our health and safety is always there. Poor control over situations. We have absolutely no control over anything. We don't know what time a lockdown will come. We don't know what when the new rules will come. So we do not know anything at all. Job security, many of them lost their jobs. A lot of them, there was a lot of people who lost their jobs. So job security was there, a fear. Physical and psychological symptoms, a lot of physical symptoms, psychological symptoms. It could be headache, migraine, it could be a series of behavioral addictions, that you are addicted to Netflix or something on the Amazon Prime. So a lot of behavioral addictions, a lot of other problems like gastrointestinal problems and stuff like that. So a lot of these problems. So all of these are things which, the new normal actually came along with. So now how are we going to manage this? What is the kind of stress management that we do when it comes to these situations? The first one is to work from home. How is it that you are going to manage working from home? The first and the easiest tip that I would actually give you is to confine your workspace to a specific clear area. See, why I would tell this? See, our brain works really well if it is planned. Okay, see, for example, if like, see, simplest of the things is every time you go to the kitchen, your brain, you think of food. True or false? Yes, you go to the kitchen, you think of food. Agreed. Okay, what is the first thought that comes to your mind when you walk into the bedroom? What's the first thought that comes to your mind when you walk into the bedroom? Sleep. Yeah, why? Because your brain is wired continuously, you have done the same thing, so your brain is wired that way, so it becomes easy for your brain to adapt to it. Okay, but every time you sit in a new place with your laptop, a new corner in your, every day a new learning has to happen, and the brain takes a lot of time for it. So if you sit in a particular place every day, at the end of 10-15 days that you have sat, the brain automatically registers this idea that, okay, this person is sitting here for work, so this is this person's workplace. So that happens. So this is because otherwise every day your brain, this has a physiological reason more, along with the psychological reason, this also has a physiological reason. Your brain has to do a lot of work, otherwise every day is a new work, a lot of new effort that has to happen. So see to it that you sit in a clear, specific, predefined area. Control sound and other distractors. End the workday with clear boundaries of time, devices, and space. This is something very, very important. That is, you will have to specify your work time. That is, this, it is till this time that I am going to work. After this, I am not going to work. So how are you going to do it? You can do something like this. Like, for example, how I planned it out is 6 o'clock is the last. After 6, I am not going to work. So how would I do it? I'll not do it because I would have kept 8 o'clock my daughter's homework time, or 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock to sit with my daughter. So I know that if I have to settle down at 8 o'clock with my daughter, by 6 I need to finish, go home and done. So I kept a boundary there. So I know that by 6 o'clock I'm shutting down my work, 6 o'clock my phone calls and stuff like that. So this is how you have to end the workday, with very clear boundaries of time, devices, and space. Have a morning or evening check-in with a colleague or a supervisor. Talk to them so you feel good, you feel connected. As and when possible, use video communications. You can have, I think all of you have your staff meeting and things like that. You use video communication platforms. Then for the pandemic, always try to see to it that you have a good support system. When I say you have a good support system, that is, you think about very creative ways of trying to connect to people. It can be video chat, it can be online games, it can be sharing pictures. So what happens is, see, our technology is so very well advanced that you can actually use it in good ways also. Okay, so what you need to do is, you need to see how creatively you can use technology to build your support system, to talk to people about how you're feeling, to stay connected with people. The second one is thinking styles. Now, something which all of us have heard about or heard now is especially positive thinking. How many of us have been told, especially during the lockdown situation, that you will have to think positively, think positively, think positively? How many of us have been told this? Think positive, be positive. Yes. Anything you try to tell, I'm feeling low, this is not going well with me, I'm just fed up of the classes, nothing goes fine, I'm not able to do it. Then somebody would tell you, hey, don't worry, yeah, think positive. Yeah. Okay. But is there anything that has been very positive? No, a lot of positive thinking has not been possible, especially during the lockdown period. It has not been positive at all, and it's quite natural. So, what you need to do is, you will have to stop being, you will have to think of, being more reality. You will have to develop a reality based thinking pattern than an emotion based thinking pattern. Like, see, the COVID is like this. oh, something might turn out possibly, hope things work better. No, the COVID is like this. This is how the situation is. This is reality. So this is, did the situation like this, what is it that I can do? Than sitting and being very emotion based. Okay. So what we need to do is have a more reality based thinking pattern than having an emotion based thinking pattern. The next one is to develop problem solving skills. Now, problem solving skills is nothing but, it's not something which will come overnight. So what is a problem solving skill? Problem solving skill is basically wherein you analyze the resources that you have to solve the situation that you are in. So basically what we do is, when you have a problem, in any problem solving skill, how you develop is, you have a problem, you brainstorm different solutions that you have to handle that particular problem, and then what you do is, you do the pros and cons, evaluate the pros and cons of each of these, and then arrive at a situation. Now, I have told this in 3 sentences, but unfortunately, this is not very easy as how nicely I told it in 3 sentences. It requires a lot of effort, it requires a lot of energy, it requires a lot of practice, but it's never too late to start. Right from now, every day, if you start, trying to use these problem solving skills regularly, slowly you will learn how to use this. The next one is building a routine. I told you a routine and ritual help, us a lot, because our brains function really well when the pattern is predictable. Okay. Otherwise, what happens is, see, if our pattern is not predictable, every time our brain is continuously thinking, what next, what next, what next. So continuously in a hypervigilant situation. Now imagine, for us to understand it in very, very simple, take this example of when all of you have, many of you have kids, right? At least a few of you all have kids, or you have seen small kids. Now take this example, when these little kids are very small, we have time for everything, isn't it? We know what time they'll get up, we know what time they'll sleep. So it was a kind of easy for us, easy for them, and it was a neat functioning. Or even prior this lockdown, this time breakfast, this time they'll go to school, this time they'll come back, the pattern was neat, because the brain knew, there was a set of predictable activity. So it was very easy for the brain, very easy for us also. So the first thing that you start working on is to build in a routine. The next one is to prioritize mental health. See, I agree when all of you say that physical health is important, fitness is important, spiritual health is important. So you do your yogas, you practice your bhajans, you go to the temple, but what is equally important, and something that is very, very important for all other forms of health, is your mental health. Okay, now mental health has taken a toss, especially during the lockdown. Now the statistics are quite scary. If you look into the women health, helpline numbers, the child helpline numbers, the COVID helpline numbers, the number of phone calls that we have been getting during this time, all of this very, very clearly say that mental health is gone on a toss. We have never taken care of our mental health at all. So at least from now, even if there's a COVID, even if there's no pandemic, otherwise also, we all have to prioritize mental health. Mental health is as important as your physical health, your social health, your spiritual health, your financial health. Mental health is very important, and mental health is something which is very, very much important to keep all of your other forms of health paka. So start having a mental health hygiene, a mental health routine right from today. It doesn't come slowly, right from today, and it's something very, very important. Avoid substances. A lot of times, a lot of people rely on substances. It can be anything, A lot of times people feel that, drinking or smoking actually helps you relax, but it can actually have long-term consequences on your physical functioning as well as psychological functioning. What is very important is to eat healthy, eat balanced, and give enough exercise to your body. Having a relaxation technique, as I told you, we all have to have some form of relaxation technique. Now, what is this relaxation technique? What is it to relax? What is it to relax? Somebody can put up on the chat box. What is it to relax? What is to take a walk or engage in? Okay, what is relaxation? Talk to friends, music and meet friends. Okay, this is what you all do to relax. Now, what is a relaxed state? See, what happens is in our body, there is something called as a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. So what happens is when we are anxious, when we are stressed, when we are overworked, the sympathetic nervous system increases its functioning. So when the sympathetic nervous system increases functioning, there's an adrenaline rush that is there in our body. So that's when we start sweating. That's when we get very anxious. There are palpitations. We start getting racing thoughts and systems like that. So then what happens is the body needs to learn to relax. That is, the balance or homeostasis in the body is lost. So that is why we need to have a relaxation method introduced in our body so that the body learns how to recover or slow down. But unfortunately, what happens is a lot of us do it when the body is stressed. See, that does not work. So I have an exam tomorrow, so I will start relaxation from today, or I will start relaxation 10 days earlier. No, relaxation needs to be a daily life practice. So when it is a daily life practice, then automatically when your body is in trouble or is agitated, then there is a repair mechanism within your body which will help your body reduce this excitation that has happened. So that is how exactly relaxation helps you. Now, what is it to relax? A lot of them, for a few of them. See, for different people, relaxation methods are different. Now, all of you have written, for not many, it is the same. Like, for example, some of you, it is music, some of you, it is playing, some of you, it is walk, some of you, it is yoga, for some, it is pranayama. So, relaxation can be different to different people. So, find out what gives you relief. It could be an imagery, it can be music, it can be sometimes even aromas. Some smells like lavender or any of these smells which make me feel good, some kind of music which makes me feel good. So find out what calms your body and then start introducing it in your daily life so that your body's healing system is activated every day. The next one is let go of consult a professional. See, a lot of times what happens is we try our best, and even when we try our best, we feel somewhere things do not fall in place. It's always nice if you see a professional, because these are professionally trained to help you how to handle the situation. It can be a psychologist, it can be a counselor. There's nothing wrong, because you go to a dietitian, you go to a nutrition specialist, you go to a yoga teacher. So it's also equally fine to go to a psychologist or a counselor and tell them that I've been trying really hard, but somehow things are not working for me. I've been having issues with my friends. I've tried repairing it, doesn't work. I've been having issues at workplace. My quality of work is dipping. It's always nice to go see a professional, because they'll be able to help you analyze the situation in a more scientific manner and work through the situation. Let go of guilt. Many a times, how many of you, or okay, I'll not say many a times, a lot of us, feel very, very guilty. A lot of us have this guilt. Like, we have this thing, of telling that, oh, my problem is nothing. There are people who have problems bigger than mine. So mine is nothing. How many of you agree with me? That is a way in, actually we actually use that kind of a defense, that there are people who have bigger problems than mine, so mine is nothing, leave it. How silly am I being? No, this is actually wrong. Okay, this guilt you should never carry. See, you are feeling something, respect that feeling, validate the feeling. If you do not respect and validate your feeling, who else is going to do it? Yes, I agree that there might be another person who has a serious problem, but your problems are also serious. Your problems also need validation. Yeah. So you cannot just shut down your problems and feel guilty for such a silly thing. I am being like this. No, they need to be. If you don't empathize with yourselves, if you don't give regard to yourselves, if you don't validate to the emotions and feelings that you have, who else will? How many of you agree? If you don't, who else? Yeah. So let go of your guilt and respect every emotion, respect every feeling that you are having. That's important. And try and find out why that emotion is coming, why that feeling is coming. If you don't validate, nobody else will. Agree? If there's anybody who doesn't agree, let me know. Agree? Okay, so there are a few people who agree. Good enough. That's nice. About different things. We basically spoke about, how we need to have reality based thinking than emotion based thinking and stuff like that. Now we are going to discuss approaches also on the same line. That is, approaches to managing stress can be action oriented approaches, emotion oriented approaches, and acceptance oriented approaches. Now, what are the differences between three of these things? One, action oriented approaches is that you take action. You know what your stressor is, so you take action to change a stressful situation. That is action oriented approach. The second one is emotion oriented approach. Now, in emotion oriented approach, what happens is we change the way we perceive a stressful situation. Giving you an example, see, there is examination. Okay, now all the students have exams. Now some students get very worried about it. Some students are bindas about it. They are absolutely, happy go lucky. Why is this difference there? Some are very scared. Some are like, okay, fine. But some are absolutely okay, happy go lucky, absolutely chilled about it. Why is this difference there? Why is this difference there? Why is this difference there? Any clue? I'll wait for one more minute. Approach is different. Okay. Why is there a difference in the approach? The difference in approach is basically there. It's not about priority or anything. It's basically about what is the meaning that we attach. Just give me a minute. Yeah, so sorry for the confusion. So what I was trying to tell, it's basically about what is the meaning that we attach to the situation. What is the perception that we have about the situation? Like, for example, examination. So for one child, it is, oh, this is my future. If I don't do well, everything is going to end. For another child, okay, I have done my best, so let me see what comes to it. And another said, why will exams determine? I have written so many exams in my life. What is this internal after all? Okay, so what meaning is that we attach to a situation that decides how we are going to respond to the situation. I repeat, whatever meaning we attach to the situation, that decides or that helps us to analyze how we are going to respond to that particular situation. So here what happens is in emotion oriented approaches, here we basically train the person to change the way they perceive a stressful situation. The third one is acceptance oriented approach. Now in acceptance oriented approaches, what we do is, you know that you can't control the situation. During the lockdown, we have to have an acceptance and action oriented approach, wherein we know that this is the situation, this is how it is going to be, so what am I going to do? Accept the situation. Now studies and research say that action oriented approaches and acceptance oriented approaches work really well when compared to emotion oriented approaches. So in that case, what are some of the action-oriented approaches? Now, action-oriented approaches is, one is be assertive. Be assertive on what you're going to do. It can be anything. The smallest of the example is giving you, or having a workload of so many. Be very assertive and say, see, this is all that I can do. This is the maximum, is the best of my abilities, nothing more than this. Reduce the noise. Stop being, very touchy about it, creating a fight and things like that. You know what you want, stick to it. Manage your time really, really well. So when you manage your time, you are more organized and you can actually function very well. Creating your own boundaries. See really well how much your personal boundaries are very clear, how much you can step out, and how much another person can step in. Okay, so this be very clearly, this is how it is. It could be in terms of work, it could be in terms of relationships, it could be in terms of a decision that you need to take. Create your own boundaries, create your boundaries, and be very, very specific about what these boundaries are and how you are going to manage it. Get out of your own head. That is, don't keep, come out of the situation, don't keep thinking and prodding about it. What you need to do is put it out of your head and start acting on the situation. So that is action oriented approach. The next one is emotion oriented approaches. Now emotion oriented approaches is affirmations and imagery. A lot of us, what do we do when we get up, we read messages like every day is amazing, a good start is a great start, so start your day well. So all of these are affirmations and imagery which make you feel good. Haven't you all seen these good morning messages that come like that? These are affirmations and imagery. The next one is cognitive constructing. Now, cognitive constructing and ABC technique, I will explain to you. See, cognitive constructing or reconstructing is like this. That is, whatever meaning that you attach. Like, for example, I have a cognitive construct that online classes are very difficult. So, this cognitive construct, cognitive is a thought. So, this thought construct is there with me. So, how whatever you tell me or however simpler is it, I am never going to venture it out because for me it is difficult. So in cognitive constructing or cognitive reconstructing, what you do, you basically try to change this construct and try to think, why is it difficult? Why do you feel is it difficult? What is the experience that you have had out of it? So you basically try to reconstruct it and try to think about it. So this is how it is. So cognitive constructing or reconstructing is like this. So cognitive constructing is basically
Excuse me, ma'am, you're not audible. Dr. Katie Shreya will be back in a minute. She's lost connectivity.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, where
Yes,
did
you're
you
audible.
yeah, where did you last hear me, ma'am?
Just 2-3 minutes back, you went off
Okay,
the
so
network.
something, yeah, probably
Yeah,
it is, yeah. So I think we were discussing about the ABC technique. Yeah, this
yeah,
is where we
right,
stop.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
So in the ABC, yeah, in the ABC, what it says is A is for action, B is for belief, and C is for consequence. So the ABC approach basically says that the action and the consequence has nothing to do. Now, action could be an examination, action could be an interview, action could be, it could be anything, any incident, and the consequence is the consequence. So what they say is the action has nothing to do. It is all the belief, it is the belief which decides it's the consequence. I believe that it's going to be easy, it's going to be fine, that will decide the consequence. So in that method, what we do is we sit and work on our belief system. We sit and work and identify what are the different beliefs that we carry about different things around us. Okay, and the next one is accepted oriented approaches. Now, in acceptance oriented approaches, what happens is we are basically, trying to tell in acceptance oriented approach, it's basically that I have accepted, okay, I have accepted that this is what it is going to be. I know it. So what are these acceptance oriented approaches? The first one, as I told you, is to have a diet and exercise. See how this diet and exercise helps. Now, good healthy food keeps you healthy, and a lot of times, a lot of additives and junk actually, brings in a lot of physiological difficulties, and that, is a close correlate to our psychological functioning. The second is about exercise. Now, what happens when we exercise? See, when we exercise, a lot of neurotransmitters like oxytocin, serotonin, etc. are released in our body. Now, all of these are happy hormones, are calming hormones, which actually keep us very, very relaxed. So when we exercise, these neurotransmitters are released, and these neurotransmitters help us to keep ourselves psychologically fine. So that is very, very important. The next one is medication. It should be meditation, meditation and physical relaxation. It could be anything. It could be breathing, it could be yoga, it could be just listening to some music. So whatever kind of physical relaxation, listening to music, it could be any kind of physical relaxation that you would want to practice. The next one is building your resilience. Resilience is basically the capacity to fight back, get back. See, all of us have our lows. All of us have. It's very normal. It's nothing, none of us are superhuman beings that we never feel low at all. All of us have our lows. So what we need to do is to understand that yes, this is a part of my life wherein I felt low about something, I was upset about something, and what is important is this realization and getting back to our earlier levels of functioning. And the next one is talk it out. Always see to it that you have someone to talk about. You can talk to your friend, you can talk to your mentor. Nothing works. Have a professional consultation, talk it out. Don't keep emotions when, or problems vented, one over the other. We all feel that we are superhuman beings, we can solve. No, we also have issues which we cannot solve. We need to take help, we need to talk. So always accept this fact that we need to talk out to people. And the last and the most important one is sleep. Now, sleep, yes, it is during sleep that most of the repair systems in our body happens. So it is very, very important for us to sleep. 6 to 8 hours of sleep is very, very important for all of us. So with this, I come to the end of the presentation. If you all have any doubts, you can put it up on the chat box, or you can even unmute yourselves and ask the question. I'm open to anything that you feel that you have to ask a psychologist or speak to a psychologist. Need not be stressed per se. I'm open to questions. We have another 15 minutes, so we can spend 15 or 20 minutes. And I actually believe that a lot of learning happens during the Q&A sessions, wherein we discuss with each other, and then there's a lot of learning. So you can either put it up on the chat box or you can unmute yourselves. Anything is fine with me. How to handle change. Is that Sugandhi ma'am? Sugandhi Kumar, how to handle change, is it?
Actually, how to handle if there is a change in the routine, ma'am. A routine is going on, suddenly we are just changing and moving to some places. Now, how to handle the routine?
Yeah. See, in some places, see, whenever there are two ways, ma'am. Two ways of looking at it. One is you already know that there is going to be a change. Then you can plan it ahead. Okay, you can plan it ahead. That is, from tomorrow you are going to, go for a trip or going to another place. So you know that things are not going to be the same. So plan it ahead. So this is how it is going to be there. So then you are less anxious or you are less worried because you have made a rough plan and you kind of know how it is going to be tomorrow. Now it is sudden inevitable change, then we have nothing, nothing much that we can do about it than accepting the situation, accept it, see how it goes with it, and then slowly learn on how to get back to the situation. These are two ways of how we can look at change, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Dr. Keti Shweta. That was a wonderful session, as mentioned here. I'm sure you cleared all your, whatever questions they had, probably the answers were told to them even before they could ask. So that is why they don't have more questions to ask now. A very good session. Thank you, for all those tips you gave us as stress busters. Okay, definitely, as you rightly said, teaching is one among the stressful jobs. You listed it in the top 10. And thanks for some of the tips you gave us to work from home, and also some coping strategies on
Thank
how
you,
to
ma'am.
develop a reality-based thinking pattern than have an emotion-based thinking pattern, and also why it's necessary for us to prioritize our mental health. Thank you so much. It was such a fruitful session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Participant.
you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any more questions, participants? Do you have any questions, or do we wind up for the day? Okay. Thank you then. We'll wind up today's session, and we meet tomorrow once again at 10 o'clock. So the session tomorrow at 10 would be on network security devices by Mr. Loknath Chil. So the attendance link, I will put it in the chat group. Please enter your attendance. Thank you once again, Dr. K. T. Shweta.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And it was nice, a very interactive group. So I also had a very nice time. Though we had an afternoon session, we kept the session moving. It's very nice. The group was very interactive. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. I think if it was offline, I think we would have had more questions,
Yeah.
But even then,
That's
it's
one
a very
limitation.
fruitful session.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.